Hey everyone, it's me Catherine, and today I'm here to give you my thoughts and feelings on The Magicians by Lev Grossman, which is the first book in the Magicians trilogy. So, I really enjoyed this. I went into this expecting not to like it so much because I'd heard people say that this is the worst out of the three of them, and like once you get through this then the rest is like plain sailing. And I'd also heard that it's quite hard to read because our protagonist, Quentin Coldwater, is not a nice person at all. Like, he's a bit of a dick, and for like I think for a lot of people that made it hard to get through this because they just didn't care about him. Whereas I found that to be, I really liked that. It's like Quentin is like, he is not a good person, and neither are like the group of friends that he like finds himself with, like the people that he's with. Like, most of these people aren't good people. Like, they are incredibly flawed human beings that make bad life choices, and it's never stated, so you obviously, if it's not stated, you can't ever be sure that that is what this is. But at least for me, a lot of the things that they were going through, especially Quentin, like with the way he was unhappy with his life and the way he sort of felt, seems a lot like depression. At least from my experience with depression, it felt a lot like that. So although it's never outright stated, so you don't even know if that's why it is what it is. But Quentin, when we're first introduced to him, it starts off and it describes him as like he's miserable, like he hates his life, and so he finds a lot of comfort in like fantasizing about being whisked away to the magical world of Fillory, which is a book series, a children's book series, not unlike the Chronicles of Narnia. And so even as I think he's 17. Do we start with him at 17? As in as like a 17, 18-year-old. Like, he's still finding comfort in those books, and a bit embarrassed about it, to be honest, until it turns out that he can actually do magic, that he is a magician. He is a magic wielder, and he basically stumbles upon, well, he's led there, but he stumbles upon a magical school. Is he in Brooklyn? In Brooklyn. And so he finds himself there and he thinks, yes, this is what he's been after. This is the perfect way. Now his life will finally pick up. And the thing that runs throughout the book, and eventually he's confronted by it, is that he's constantly looking for the next thing that's going to make him happy. If such and such a thing happens, then I'll finally be happy. And boy, can I relate to that. Because especially in like the early stages of my most recent depressive episode, like the one that actually made me go to the doctor and seek help, basically it started off like I kept telling myself, if this happens, if I get this done, then it's going to be okay. If I get this done, it's going to be okay. And when that didn't work, it would be the next thing. Until eventually you realise and you're forced to confront the fact that nothing you do will ever make you happy, because it's not something that material things or things like that can ever change. It's something that you've got to like confront yourself and get help for, which is what makes me think that Quentin does suffer with depression. But again, it's never stated, it's never mentioned, so I can't say if that's the reason he's being a dick. But at least for me, like I couldn't hate him for the things he did. I didn't like him. Don't mean I didn't like him. Don't mean I wouldn't quite happily punch him in the face if I was ever, like, if we were acquaintances in real life. But I feel like because of my particular experience, like obviously everyone's mental health journey is different, but this one spoke to me quite a bit actually. So I sort of understood. It doesn't mean that excuses everything he does or anything he does, because it absolutely doesn't, because as well as that, he's also incredibly selfish. I feel like he's incredibly selfish, and it's one rule for him and another for everybody else. So without going into spoilers, something happens, he does a bad thing, right, and it hurts someone that he's very close to, and he feels bad for a little bit, but he never really apologises, I don't think, and he starts to blame other people for that happening, like it's not his fault that it happened. and he never really confronts the bad thing that he did that hurt this person. So, but then when that person does the same thing on purpose to get back at him, he absolutely rages about it and is expecting them to be so, well, I guess better than he is. But it's that sort of mentality, whereas I've done it, yes, I'm sorry, isn't that enough for you? When someone else does it, they hold the other people in such a high, with such high expectations, such higher standards for how they should behave. And it's like, that's not how this works, mate. That is not how this works. Should they have done what they did? No, but you also did it. So, like, can you blame them for wanting to get back at you for doing this really shitty thing? So Quentin is, like, probably for a lot of people not a nice person to read about. But I saw some of myself in him, and I guess some of what I could have been had I gone down a different path. You know what I mean? Like, this could have been me, but it wasn't. But I guess a lot of the people the friends that he finds, they're clearly unhappy with themselves, and they're constantly trying to find that one thing that's going to make it all okay. If we get to this point, then it's going to be great. If we get to this point, then it's going to be great. So while they did horrible things and like say horrible things and are not like good people, well, they're not bad people, but they're not like as in evil. They're just not kind. Is kind the word I'm looking for? So I think that's maybe what puts a lot of people off. Quentin, as well as being like not good people, essentially not making good life choices for himself, also a bit sexist, uses some ableist language. Any like women that he comes across are almost immediately categorized as whether he finds them attractive, unattractive, or like somewhere in the middle. So like they're all described and all judged based on how he finds them, and I hate that in character descriptions. I hate it so much. I do not like to be told when our protagonist finds someone attractive or not, because then that makes me feel like I have to find them attractive, and I'd rather judge it for myself. So as well as being sexist, it's also one of those things that really grates on me. And he does use some like ableist language, like, so he throws the word cripple around, and also the R word is mentioned a couple of times as well. So as well as like his actions, it's also in like the language that he uses as well that says that, you know, Quentin's not a good person. But not good people make for great character arcs. So like hopefully throughout this trilogy we see Quentin. I don't want him to become like the best person ever. I don't want him to suddenly like see the light and like immediately correct all his wrongs and become such a perfect example of a decent human being. But I am very interested to see him grow and like just become to be better. Because I think if he can learn to be better to himself, he can learn to be better to other people. So that's Quentin and his mates. So Quentin finds himself at this magic school. But all his schooling, the entire time that he's at this magic school, Brakebills, is it called? Brakebills. It's a college, I think it's a college, this magical college is done within this first book. So it's done, his years are done and done in this book, before the end of the book actually, because there's quite a chunk of it that takes place after they've left school and what they get up to, and the final like sort of showdown that happens is after they finish college. So this is all done and dusted in this book. And the magic system is quite complicated. Like having the actual casting of magic seems to be quite complex, because there's a lot of things that you have to take in consideration when casting a spell. So depending where you are and the weather and the season and things, I guess that can affect how you cast a spell. So I did find like the actual magic quite interesting and something, because it actually is something that requires like studying, proper like book studying. There's something physical to like study in order to understand. You have to study the how before you can do the magic itself. And I liked that. I really liked that. And I just really enjoyed this overall. Like, I enjoyed reading about flawed characters And like friendship groups, no matter how flawed they might be, because this is a flawed group of friends who are not making good life choices, and I enjoy seeing that because that leaves them room for a lot of growth for these characters, and that's what I want to see. I want to see them grow, I want to see them be better, because while the magic is interesting and stuff like that, I am here for the people, for the characters. I want to see them do better, learn and be better, and that is what I'm most looking forward to for the rest of the series. So I think that is going to about do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read The Magicians in the comments below, what you thought about Quentin and whether you struggled to get through it or not. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will hopefully see you in another video. Bye!